Hello, and welcome to Great Sleep. Get ready to listen and relax. Today I'm going to tell you a cozy winter story about a cozy hotel that became a place of warmth during the winter snowy season. The wind howled through the snow-covered peaks of the mountains, carrying with it a biting cold that seemed to seep into the very bones of those who dared venture outside. Nestled within this wintry landscape stood a charming hotel, its exterior adorned with twinkling lights that danced in the falling snow. This was Winter Haven, a place known for its historic charm and cozy atmosphere. Emily Thompson, a woman in her late 30s with a warm smile and a passion for hospitality, was the manager of Winter Haven. She had dedicated her life to ensuring that every guest who stepped through the hotel's doors felt like they were entering a home away from home. As she walked through the lobby, her footsteps echoed on the creaky wooden floors, harmonizing with the crackling fire in the grand stone fireplace. The lobby was adorned with antique furniture, plush armchairs inviting guests to sink into their soft cushions. The walls were lined with photographs capturing moments from the hotel's rich history. Each image whispered tales of past guests who had sought refuge from the world outside these walls. Outside, the snow fell softly, covering the landscape in a pristine white blanket. The surrounding mountains stood tall and majestic, their peaks disappearing into the clouds. The air was crisp and clean, carrying with it a sense of tranquility that seemed to permeate every corner of Winter Haven. As Emily made her rounds, she couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation in the air. Winter Haven had become a sanctuary for those seeking solace and connection, and she knew that this winter would be no different. She smiled to herself, knowing that she had created a haven where guests could escape from the chaos of their lives and find peace amidst the snowy mountains. Winter Haven was no stranger to heavy snowfall, but this winter brought an extraordinary challenge. The snow came down relentlessly, piling up in drifts taller than the hotel's front door. Emily and her dedicated staff worked tirelessly to clear the paths and ensure the safety of their guests. Armed with shovels and determination, they braved the freezing temperatures, their breath visible in the icy air. They formed a well-oiled machine, each member of the team knowing their role and executing it with precision. They cleared the paths, shoveled snow off the roofs, and salted the walkways to prevent slips and falls. But the snow seemed relentless, as if it had a mind of its own. It would fall faster than they could clear it, covering their progress with a fresh layer of white. Yet, they pressed on, undeterred by the challenges nature threw their way. One particularly stormy day, as Emily and her team were working to clear the entrance of the hotel, a gust of wind blew through, sending a cascade of snow tumbling down from the roof above. Emily shielded her face with her arm, feeling the icy sting against her skin. She looked up to see a figure emerging from the swirling snow. It was Mr. Jameson, a distinguished gentleman in his 60s who had arrived at Winter Haven earlier that week. He had come seeking solace after the loss of his wife, hoping that the peaceful surroundings would help heal his broken heart. His face was etched with sadness, but there was also a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "Mr. Jameson, are you all right?" Emily called out, her voice barely audible over the howling wind. He brushed off the snow from his coat and smiled weakly. "I'm fine, thank you. Just needed a moment to gather my thoughts." Emily nodded understandingly and gestured for him to come inside. "Let's get you warmed up by the fire. It's quite a storm out there." As they stepped into the lobby, Mr. Jameson's eyes widened in awe at the charm that enveloped him. The crackling fire in the grand stone fireplace cast a warm glow on the antique furniture, creating a cozy atmosphere that instantly put him at ease. "I must say, Winter Haven truly lives up to its reputation," he remarked, his voice filled with gratitude. Emily smiled warmly. "We do our best to make everyone feel at home here. Please, make yourself comfortable by the fire. I'll have someone bring you a hot cup of tea." As Mr. Jameson settled into one of the plush armchairs, he couldn't help but feel a sense of relief wash over him. The weight of his grief seemed to lift ever so slightly as he allowed himself to be embraced by the warmth and tranquility of Winter Haven. As Winter Haven's reputation for warmth and hospitality spread, a diverse group of guests arrived, seeking refuge from the cold and chaos of the outside world. Among them was Sarah, a young artist with a wild mane of red hair and a spirit that burned brighter than the fire in Winter Haven's hearth. She had come to find inspiration amidst the snowy landscape, hoping to capture its ethereal beauty on canvas. Sarah stepped into the lobby with her art supplies in hand, her eyes widening at the sight before her. The antique furniture and crackling fire created a cozy ambience that instantly sparked her creative spirit. She couldn't wait to explore the snowy mountains and translate their beauty onto her canvas. Emily greeted Sarah with a warm smile and a genuine welcome. "Welcome to Winter Haven, Sarah. We're delighted to have you here. If there's anything you need during your stay, please don't hesitate to ask." Sarah returned the smile, feeling an instant connection with Emily. "Thank you so much for having me. I can already sense that this place is going to inspire some incredible art." Emily's eyes twinkled with excitement. "I have no doubt that it will. Winter Haven has a way of bringing out the best in people, especially artists like yourself. I hope you find everything you're looking for here." Just as Emily finished speaking, the door swung open once again, revealing Mrs. Reynolds, an elderly woman with a mischievous twinkle in her eye. She had been coming to Winter Haven for years, seeking respite from the demands of her everyday life. She carried with her a sense of adventure and a desire to create memories that would last a lifetime. Mrs. Reynolds entered the lobby with a skip in her step, her eyes scanning the room for familiar faces. When she spotted Emily, her face lit up with joy. "Emily, my dear. It's so good to see you again," she exclaimed, making her way over to the manager. Emily embraced Mrs. Reynolds warmly. "It's always a pleasure to have you here, Mrs. Reynolds. How was your journey?" Mrs. Reynolds chuckled. "Oh, you know me, always up for an adventure." The snow made the drive quite exhilarating. They both laughed, their shared connection evident in their easy banter. Mrs. Reynolds turned to Sarah, who had been observing their interaction with curiosity. "And who might this young artist be?" she asked, a mischievous glint in her eye. Emily introduced Sarah to Mrs. Reynolds, and the three of them quickly fell into conversation, sharing stories and laughter. It was as if they had known each other for years, their connection instant and genuine. As more guests arrived throughout the day, Winter Haven buzzed with a sense of excitement and camaraderie. Strangers became friends within moments of meeting, united by their shared desire for solace and connection in this Winter Haven. As Emily went about her duties, she often found herself drawn into conversations with the staff, who had been with Winter Haven for years. These conversations revealed snippets of the hotel's rich history, stories that were passed down through generations. One such story was that of a famous writer who had sought refuge in Winter Haven during a particularly harsh winter many years ago. It was said that he had penned his most famous novel within the walls of this very hotel, finding inspiration in the solitude and beauty of the snowy landscape. Another tale spoke of a young couple who had eloped to Winter Haven, seeking to escape the disapproval of their families. They had spent their honeymoon in one of the hotel's cozy rooms, their love growing stronger with each passing day. These stories created an air of mystery and intrigue around Winter Haven, as if the echoes of the past lingered within its walls, waiting to be discovered by those who were willing to listen. One evening, as Sarah sat by the fire, sketching the snow-covered mountains outside, she couldn't help but feel a sense of connection to the artists who had come before her. She imagined their creative struggles and triumphs, their desire to capture the beauty that surrounded them. Lost in her thoughts, Sarah didn't notice Mr. Jameson approaching until he was standing beside her, his eyes filled with curiosity. "May I join you?" he asked, gesturing to the empty armchair beside her. Sarah smiled warmly and nodded. "Of course, please have a seat." They sat in companionable silence for a moment, both lost in their own thoughts. Then, Mr. Jameson spoke softly, his voice filled with nostalgia. "I can't help but wonder what stories these walls hold. The artists and writers who have found solace here, I can only imagine the beauty they've created." Sarah's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Yes, it's as if their creative energy still lingers in the air. I feel so inspired being here, surrounded by such history and beauty." Mr. Jameson nodded, a wistful smile playing on his lips. "I can see why Winter Haven has become a sanctuary for artists and writers. There's something magical about this place, something that sparks the imagination and allows creativity to flourish." They sat together, sharing their dreams and aspirations, their conversation flowing effortlessly. It was as if they had known each other for years, their connection deepening with each passing moment. Meanwhile, in another corner of the lobby, Mrs. Reynolds sat with Emily, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "Emily, my dear, I've heard whispers of hidden treasures within these walls. Tales of secret passages and hidden rooms. Do you think there's any truth to these stories?" Emily smiled knowingly. "Ah, the legends of Winter Haven. While I can't confirm or deny the existence of secret passages, I can tell you that this hotel has many hidden corners waiting to be discovered. Perhaps you'll stumble upon a hidden treasure during your stay." Mrs. Reynolds chuckled, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "Well, then I shall make it my mission to uncover these secrets. Who knows what mysteries lie within these walls?" As the evening wore on, the guests continued to share stories and laughter, their connection growing stronger with each passing day. Winter Haven became a tapestry of past and present, as the echoes of the hotel's rich history intertwined with the stories being created in the present. As the snowfall grew heavier, Winter Haven found itself facing unexpected challenges. Power outages became more frequent, leaving the hotel in darkness for hours at a time. Guests who had planned to explore the surrounding mountains found themselves stranded within the hotel's warm embrace. Emily and her staff sprang into action, ensuring that the guests were comfortable and well taken care of. They lit candles throughout the hotel, their soft glow casting dancing shadows on the walls. They organized activities and games to keep everyone entertained, turning the unexpected circumstances into an opportunity for connection and camaraderie. One stormy evening, as the guests gathered in the lobby, Mrs. Reynolds suggested a game of charades to pass the time. The idea was met with enthusiasm, and soon, everyone was eagerly participating. Sarah, with her creative spirit, was particularly adept at embodying different characters and scenarios. She had the guests in fits of laughter as she mimicked famous movie scenes and iconic characters. Mr. Jameson, usually reserved, surprised everyone with his dramatic interpretations, bringing a sense of gravitas to each performance. As they played, the power flickered back on, casting a warm glow throughout Winter Haven. The guests cheered in delight, their spirits lifted by the return of light and warmth. Emily watched with a sense of pride as the guests bonded over the shared experience. She had always believed that Winter Haven was more than just a hotel. It was a place where connections were forged and memories were created. And in this moment, as the guests laughed and celebrated together, she knew that Winter Haven had once again become a sanctuary for those seeking solace and connection. As the days passed, the guests began to open up to each other, revealing their personal stories and vulnerabilities. Mr. Jameson shared memories of his wife, his voice filled with both sorrow and gratitude for the love they had shared. Sarah spoke of her struggles as an artist, her fear of never being able to capture the true essence of her subjects. Mrs. Reynolds regaled the group with tales from her adventurous past, her eyes sparkling with mischief. She spoke of daring escapades and unforgettable encounters, reminding the others that life was meant to be lived to the fullest. These shared stories created bonds among the guests, as they realized that they were not alone in their fears and desires. They found solace in each other's presence, drawing strength from the connections they had forged. One evening, as the guests gathered for dinner in the hotel's cozy dining room, Mr. Jameson stood up and raised his glass, his eyes filled with gratitude. "I want to thank each and every one of you for sharing your stories and opening your hearts. Winter Haven has become a sanctuary for us all, a place where we can find solace and connection amidst the chaos of the world. Let us raise our glasses to new beginnings and the friendships we've formed." The guests raised their glasses in unison, their smiles reflecting the warmth and gratitude in their hearts. They knew that this winter would forever hold a special place in their memories, a time when they had found solace and connection within the walls of Winter Haven. As the days wore on, a sense of foreboding settled over Winter Haven. The weather reports warned of a severe snowstorm approaching, one that would test the hotel's resilience and the strength of its guests. Emily and her staff worked tirelessly to prepare for the storm. They stocked up on supplies, ensuring that there was enough food and firewood to last through the worst of it. They reinforced the windows and doors, fortifying Winter Haven against the onslaught of wind and snow. The guests watched with a mix of anxiety and anticipation, their hearts pounding in sync with the rising winds. They huddled together in the lobby, seeking comfort in each other's presence as they waited for the storm to arrive. As the first snowflakes began to fall, Sarah stood by the window, her breath fogging up the glass. She watched as the snowflakes danced in the wind, their delicate beauty contrasting with the impending chaos. Beside her, Mr. Jameson placed a hand on her shoulder, his voice filled with reassurance. "Don't worry, Sarah. We're all in this together. Winter Haven has weathered many storms before, and it will do so again." Sarah turned to him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Mr. Jameson. Your words mean a lot to me." He smiled warmly. "Please, call me James. We're all friends here, facing this storm together." As the storm hit with full force, Winter Haven became a battleground against the elements. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows and threatening to tear them from their hinges. The snow piled up against the walls, threatening to bury the hotel beneath its weight. But Emily and her staff refused to yield to nature's fury. They fought back with unwavering determination, shoveling snow away from doorways and clearing pathways for escape. They stoked the fires, their crackling warmth providing a much-needed respite from the icy cold. The guests marveled at their bravery and resourcefulness, finding inspiration in their unwavering dedication to their duties. Together, they formed a united front against the storm, determined to protect Winter Haven's historic charm and the safety of all who sought refuge within its walls. As the storm raged outside, Winter Haven became a sanctuary of warmth and resilience. The guests and staff worked together, their spirits undeterred by the relentless snowfall. They huddled around the fire, sharing stories and laughter to keep their spirits high. One evening, as the wind howled outside, Mrs. Reynolds suggested a game of storytelling to pass the time. The idea was met with enthusiasm, and soon, everyone was eagerly participating. They sat in a circle, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of candlelight. Each person took turns sharing a story from their past, weaving tales of adventure, love, and triumph. The stories transported them to different worlds, momentarily allowing them to forget about the storm raging outside. Sarah shared a story of a chance encounter with a stranger that had changed the course of her life. Her voice trembled with emotion as she recounted the impact that person had on her artistic journey. Mr. Jameson spoke of his travels with his late wife, describing the breathtaking landscapes they had witnessed together. His voice was filled with both joy and sorrow as he relived those precious moments. Mrs. Reynolds regaled the group with tales of her youth, painting vivid pictures of daring escapades and unforgettable encounters. Her mischievous laughter filled the air, captivating everyone's attention. As the stories unfolded, the storm seemed to fade into the background, its power diminished by the strength of the human spirit. The guests and staff found solace in each other's stories, drawing strength from their shared experiences. As the storm continued to rage outside, the guests found themselves confronting their own secrets and vulnerabilities. Mr. Jameson, in a moment of vulnerability, revealed the guilt he felt for not being able to save his wife. Sarah, inspired by the strength of those around her, confronted her fear of failure and vowed to embrace her artistic voice. Mrs. Reynolds, in a rare moment of reflection, shared the pain she had hidden beneath her mischievous facade. She spoke of lost opportunities and regrets, urging the others to seize the present and create their own destinies. These revelations brought the guests closer together, as they realized that they were not defined by their pasts, but by the choices they made in the present. They found solace in each other's stories, their shared experiences creating a bond that would last long after the storm had passed. One evening, as the storm began to subside, the guests and staff gathered in the lobby, their faces reflecting a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. They had battled the elements and emerged stronger than ever, their spirits unyielding in the face of adversity. Emily stood at the center of the group, her voice filled with pride and gratitude. "I am in awe of each and every one of you. The strength and resilience you have shown throughout this storm is truly remarkable. Winter Haven stands tall today because of your unwavering dedication." The guests and staff applauded, their smiles mirroring Emily's own. They celebrated their victory over nature's wrath, finding solace in the knowledge that they had weathered the storm together. In that moment, Winter Haven became more than just a hotel. It became a beacon of hope in a world filled with uncertainty. In the days that followed, Winter Haven slowly returned to its usual rhythm. The guests bid their farewells, carrying with them memories of a winter they would never forget. They left with a renewed sense of purpose and a determination to live their lives to the fullest. Emily stood at the entrance of Winter Haven, her heart filled with gratitude for the experiences they had shared. She knew that this winter had changed them all, leaving an indelible mark on their souls. As she watched the guests disappear into the distance, she knew that Winter Haven would always hold a special place in their hearts. As the silent snowfall continued, Emily took a moment to reflect on the lessons learned and the growth experienced by each character throughout their journeys. She knew that Winter Haven would continue to be a haven for those seeking solace and connection. And so, as Winter Haven stood tall amidst the falling snow, it became a symbol of hope and resilience in a world that often seemed cold and unforgiving. It was a place where strangers became friends, where secrets were unveiled, and where new beginnings were embraced amidst the silent snowfall.